everyone, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I am Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way, and I am so happy to be back. I have been away for a few weeks over the holidays, and I have missed doing these tutorials so much. So I am happy to be back with a new project for you, but I promise those weeks that I've been off, I have not been slacking. So I have been working hard on some new releases for you. So all new projects for 2018 that I will be releasing on this YouTube channel in the next few weeks. So keep watching. You're going to love all this new stuff, and of course it's going to work with what you already have. So let's get going, because I've just been away too long, and I hope you've been watercoloring the whole time that I've been gone. I have been, but it is so fun to do these projects, and I hope you love this one. You know, it's still winter, but I don't know about you. I'm getting ready for spring, and I thought a spring project would be really fun to do. So we're going to put together this little project. This one, I'm using the little birdhouses, but here's another option on that. So I went ahead and did another one, and all I did was hang the little pots on here instead of the birdhouses. So it's the same idea. The instructions would be the exact same, except that you're using these little pots and just putting little foliage and whatever flowers that you want in there. So lots and lots of options with these tutorials, lots of things that you can do with them. Use your imagination. It's so fun. So let's go back to our main project here. This is the one that we're going to put together, and you'll be surprised how easy it is, I promise. So in order to do this, we're going to need a few things. So from our rustic container set, we're going to use this wood basket right here. In the bird bath set, so we're going to use one of these little birds. You can use any of them that you want. I'm using this one and the two little birdhouses. In the fall set, I'm using this little long stem right here, but remember, these things are all interchangeable, so use another long stem that you have. If you don't happen to have this set, all is not lost. Just use something that you have. In our flower set then, we're going to use the little filler flower, and then in our foliage set, the little tiny grass and the vine. So these two things we're going to use to put this project together. It is so fun to do. So let's get going. We're going to start out by inking the basic image, as always. And I'm just going to ink this with the sepia. So I'm just going to ink this whole thing up with the sepia. And then I'm going to take off a little bit of the bottom because I want to kind of put it in some grass, and I don't really want to fight with those lines. So I'm going to take some of that off, and I'm going to stamp it in the middle of my watercolor paper a little bit towards the bottom. So we've got some height going on in here and want to make sure we get enough room on our paper. So the next step is, of course, pulling the color out of the lines, which this is the game changer. This is what changes everything and makes you feel like you are really putting together a watercolor painting. It is so fun. Just be sure to start where that color is the darkest. So when you're looking at a rounded container, remember that highlight is going to be the closest to you. So this area in the center, that's going to be the lightest. And down under here, you see how these little slats come forward? We're going to draw this line underneath, and that's going to bring those forward. You can see how that works. And all of these little slats in this basket, they all have a rounded feel to them. So they're going to have a small highlight on them as well. So kind of think about that. This is going to be the lightest area, and as you move your color over, you're going to be darker on the edges. Easy to do, just so easy to do. And we're going to come back and add a little color to that later, but let's move on to the next step. So we're going to draw in our posts. So the posts are these little hooks that hang our little birdhouses. It's so fun. This is a really fun thing to do. So, you know, I like to include some freehand things in these tutorials because I like to stretch you a little bit. And for those of you who would say they're extremely type A, I'm going to show you exactly where to draw those. Those of you who are a little looser and aren't as concerned about that, you can just put those little posts in. But they're going to be about an inch and a quarter tall. And if you have a clear ruler like I do, you're going to put this ruler in about 1/4 of an inch from the edge, and you're going to follow that same angle as your pot. Okay, so think about it as about 1.5 inches up high, and then inside about 1/4 of an inch, and just draw that little line in just like that. Okay, so let's do another one over here. We're going to do the same thing again, only we're going to come on this side. So follow that angle just as we go around here and go up. Maybe this one just do a little bit shorter. So just like that. And we're just going to draw those two in for now. So let's go ahead and make the hook. And really, this is just a little hook that you're just going to come down on like this. So this is not hard. Just put those little hooks in. Don't worry if they're perfect. They don't have to be perfect at all. So let's go ahead and hang our little birdhouses in here. And we're going to use our positioner because we want to make sure that we get those in the same place and we don't have them hanging off of our hook somewhere. So we're going to ink those also in the sepia. So we're going to ink that up and then stamp it into that square. So just like this. And we're going to see exactly where this is going to go. And add a little interest. You don't necessarily have to hang these straight up and down. Add a little interest and swing them out a little bit. It's kind of fun to do. And you don't have to re-ink this, so just huff on it and just stamp it in the corner. Okay, so just like that, perfect. And let's do the other one. So let's hang this little guy. And we're going to put this stamp also on the positioner. So let's ink this in the sepia as well. And then we're going to ink it and place it right in the corner like that so we can see exactly where it's going to go. Let's hang this one, tip this one a little bit in. Actually, let's tip it out. You can play around with that. That's the nice thing about a positioner is you can see exactly what angle you want to do and exactly where it's going to stamp. Okay, so just like that, we've got those in. And let's do one more now in the center. So this will be the tall one in the center. And you can put that one straight up and down. And let's just ink that one more time. Ink this little stamp. And we're still using the sepia. So we're going to put this one kind of right in the center like that. And then take your ruler. And you're using your fine tip, remember. Just right in the center of that little birdhouse, you're going to make another line. So just like that. And then at the top, this is going to come up like this and just make a little loop. You're looking at it straight on, so this little area right here is going to be straight. And honestly, don't worry about this. This is so non-important. It really is. Don't worry about that at all. Okay, so let's go on to the next step and let's pull that color out of those lines. So just carefully, these are very small lines, so we just want to do a little bit here. And just pull this color out, just drag it out. We always start this way, even when things are small. This is always the starting point. Remember on this rounded container, this is just like the basket, we want to show that highlight in the center. That's so important. Even when things are really tiny, we want to show that, that highlight. So let's darken in these little circles. This is the number 29 Prussian blue. And so we're really going to darken these little holes. And you can see how that really pops things out and makes those look three-dimensional already. Okay, so let's go on to the next step and let's put in our foliage. So I'm going to ink this. This is our little vine. I'm going to ink this in the number 72 and I'm just going to put it just kind of on the outside. Get it in here about 3 times. Just like that. And let's just put it in here in the center also. So just like that. And you can see I've left some space now for the flowers. And I'm just adding water to it now. Just dab. Just like this. You want to stamp those flowers in the white area because you're going to get a much better color if you do that. So I'm going to use my Prussian blue now and use my little daisy bunch. And remember, you're going to walk this in a circle. You can do a small bloom like this, but you want to make sure you're still going in a circle. Let's just put one more up in here. And I think that's good. So let's add a little more water now to this. Remember, you're just dabbing. So just dab at it. And you can see that it all blends together. Don't worry that you're getting that blue into the green. That's okay. It's going to all blend together. We want to just see the idea of the flowers. We don't want to see any definite, petals or blooms. We want to see this as a whole. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's get some color on our palette now. We're gonna add some color to these little birdhouses. So let's mix a little bit here. This is number 101. This is the tropical. Let's add a little of that Prussian blue. And then a little of this green, so the number 72. This is basically the colors that we're using on here. It's good to use colors that are similar when you're doing these little paintings. Instead of trying to get too many colors in here and you end up with kind of every color of the rainbow, it's better to try to keep it simple. So I'm just brushing it on. Remember, we're going to apply color where it's the darkest, the same as we do when we pull the color out of the lines. It's so important to do that. And let's just add a little of this color now. This is that tropical, so let's add a little color to this little birdhouse. And let's keep the front really light. So pinch your brush off and really keep this light. Your brush is going to be almost dry. And keep that color darker over here on the back side. So just like that. Let's keep this one over here, mostly white. So we would just have a shadow on the side. And then let's add some of this color to the roof. So you can use whatever combinations of color that you want. It's amazing how it changes the picture just by changing your color palette so much. And let's add a little of the sepia and get some color on the roof. Just brush this color in. Remember, even in these small images, you want to stay inside the lines. So you don't want to cross these lines. Even though these things are small, it really, really makes a difference. Stay inside the lines, even on these little shingles. And when you see those highlights, you can see how that just kind of lifts those shingles up. It really, really does. It makes such a difference. And you think, oh, that's such a tiny area, it's not gonna matter, but it really does. And you notice it as a whole. When you finish your picture and you're looking at it and it just looks really good, it's because you've kind of followed all those rules. So we're putting a little shadow in there. You can see how that pops up those little perches. This in here on these overhangs, this is going to be dark in here. So just take a little time and do these little extra things. Makes a difference. And this, under this little roof, that's going to be dark under here as well. And we could actually make a little highlight here too, where these little hooks are. So cute. Let's add just a little bit of color to this basket, just a very subtle amount of this blue in here. Spring, is about pastels and these bright, bright colors, that are bright colors that are subdued. That's kind of the opposite, but you guys know what I mean. Beautiful pastels. So we're just giving the idea of this little basket having a color. And it's better to just do things in stages, so take your time and just apply the color slowly rather than trying to get it all on there all at once. And you can see how, just a small amount of color that I'm picking up on my brush, just a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and add our grasses to the bottom. So we can add some more texture here. We can take this vine and maybe we just want to add a little of this to the bottom and maybe some grasses over here. These little things are so versatile. They're good inside a container and outside a container. So stamp that in, and then just add your water to it. You know, and pull this color out of the sides, you know, of these containers, because you're gonna get a really nice background, kind of a little halo effect. And it, you know, it adds dimension because you're seeing something behind your container. So don't be afraid to do that. These little things are just so much fun to do. You can pull some of this color out now and drag it up here and get a little sky going. You don't want to bring your sky over and above your tallest item here. So this is the tallest birdhouse. This is going to give the impression that it's up high, is if you keep that sky below. It's all about your perspective and how your eye sees things. And the more that you pull this color out, you know, the softer the look becomes. And if you like that really abstract look, this is the way to get it. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and add our long stem in, and we'll put our little bird on the top, and we'll be finished with this project. So I've got my little long stem, and I'm using the magenta, and I'm using the number 72. So I'm using 2 colors to stamp this, and I'm just going to stamp it a couple of times. So just a 1, 2, 3 is good enough. And I'm just going to hit it with my brush. And just get this little bright pink going. If you think you don't have it bright enough, you can come back in here and just add a little more pink to it, and then hit it with your brush again. Okay, that looks good. So let's get our little bird on here. So I've got him on a block, and I'm going to use my positioner because now after all this, I don't want to place him in the wrong place or have him flying off the top. So I'm going to stamp him in my little shield. I'm going to ink him in the sepia, so that number 45. And in the corner like that, place my positioner right there, and just huff on it and stamp it again. Okay, so I've got him on his little perch. Make sure you always go back in and hit that eye and that little beak. Make sure you get that in there really dark, and then pull those colors out. So your brush is going to be mostly dry. You don't need much water on this at all. And just pick up a little bit of color. So just a tiny, tiny bit of color. Make sure your brush is mostly dry, and apply that color to his little wing. And even these tiny little images, you want to keep those faces light. Even on these little birds that are so small. Keep the face light. And then just pinch your brush off and just take a little of that blue and just pull it down on his little belly. And that is all we have to do on him. He looks pretty good. So I guess there's just one thing left to do, and that is to sign and date. And we are finished with this project. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this project. I'm so happy to be back, and I look forward to doing lots more projects with you. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you all next week.